I am the fiancé that the prince of the Gu family hates the most. On the eve of our wedding, he was still obsessed with his first love. So I ran away overnight and asked my best friend in the hospital to give him a forged death certificate. Unexpectedly, he, who had always been cold to me, completely collapsed the moment he learned of my death. A month before the wedding, I received a text message. There was a recording inside. When I turned it on, I heard the voice of my fiancé Daniel Gu. Don't you think you're not worthy of me because you've been married and divorced? It doesn't matter. I'll get married once, too. If you figure it out, come to me, and you can still be the bride. Apparently, the person who sent this text message was Daniel Gu's first love, Julia Lu. She said to me proudly, Clara Lin. What's the cruelest thing done to you in the name of love? Tell me below. First, the heart breaks, then, karma breaks them. Who decided that being kind meant being silent? Don't think you have one. You see, Daniel Gu doesn't love you at all. The one he loves is always me. I calmly replied with an, oh, and turned off my phone. In fact, there is no need for Daniel Gu to tell me that she doesn't love me. In his eyes, I was just a woman who had successfully pleased his mother, and was only thinking about getting promoted. Unfortunately, my brother didn't know this. A month ago, as an accountant for a branch of Gu Group, he took the blame for all the crimes committed by the Gu family and was sent to prison. My brother has lived an upright life. The reason he was willing to take the blame was simply for me. My sister has always loved you since she was a child. On Daniel Gu's desk, I found a handwritten letter from my brother. I am a useless brother and cannot give her a good life, but you can. Please take good care of her and make her happy. After seeing the letter my brother left, my eyes were swollen from tears. I collapsed and called Daniel Gu countless times, but he didn't answer any of them. That day, he came home very late, smelling of sweet, woody, floral perfume. That is Julia Lu's favorite perfume, called The Morning After. Daniel Gu saw that I was crying so hard that I couldn't even stand up. He subconsciously opened his arms and wanted to give me a comforting hug, but I took a few steps back in the smell of perfume and turned my head away. Daniel Gu's face immediately turned cold. Your brother was responsible for that matter in the first place. It's better for only one person to suffer than to implicate everyone. He did the right thing and saved the overall situation of the Gu Group. I felt desolate in my heart, and I couldn't believe that the person who said these words was the handsome boy who bought me hot pear juice in the morning light in the library, when I was studying late at night and suffering from menstrual cramps. After your brother went to jail, the morale of his department was unstable. I thought of sending you there. You are his sister, and everyone will feel more at ease when they see you in charge. I curled up on the sofa, feeling a sharp pain in my lower abdomen. I'm not going. Daniel Gu frowned. Clara Lin, you are my wife, so you have to take on this responsibility. Our Gu family does not support wealthy wives who enjoy leisure time. I laughed, tears uncontrollably wetting my collar. Daniel Gu, so you still know that I am your wife? Perhaps the sarcasm in his words was too obvious. Daniel Gu's back stiffened and he quickly turned and left. Can you leave Daniel Gu? In the quiet clinic, my best friend Ella was silent for a long time and asked me in a low voice, if you continue like this, your body will be completely unable to support it. I knew what Ella was referring to. I have been diagnosed with depression a year ago and rely on medication to stabilize my mood every day. Even in summer I wear long sleeves and long pants because, if I lift up my sleeves I can see the scars from self-harm when I have a breakdown. I started to get sick and have fevers frequently, and a cold could easily turn into pneumonia. Psychology and physiology interact with each other. Ella's eyes were red. Clara, you are very ill. You must leave Daniel Gu. Otherwise all treatments will only treat the symptoms and not the root cause. I knew this very well, but after a long silence, I finally shook my head. I can't leave Daniel Gu, or rather, I can't leave. My brother and I lost our parents when we were very young and were raised by our grandmother. When I was in high school, my grandmother fell ill and my brother had just started college, so our family had no source of income. Daniel Gu somehow found out about this. As the class monitor at the time, he not only went to the hospital to quietly pay off my grandmother's hospital bills, but also went to the principal to help me apply for academic subsidies. Even when I was on class duty, he would help me do it. At that time, there were always people in the class who said, Mr. Gu, you like Clara Lin, right? He didn't answer, but smiled and winked at me, indicating that I could go take care of grandma first. What a warm-hearted boy Daniel Gu was at that time. He helped me and took care of myself. Esteem. To me at that time, He was like a ray of light, illuminating my poor and pale youth. I treasured the gifts he gave me in my bookcase and wrote his name all over my diary. When my brother saw me, he smiled and asked me, "Do you like him?" My cheeks flushed, but I still nodded solemnly. "I like it very much, but Daniel Gu also has someone he likes. That person is Julia Lu. Julia Lu is a senior student to us. She is a well-known campus beauty with a passionate and flamboyant beauty. More importantly, she and Daniel Gu are a perfect match. But Daniel Gu's mother doesn't like Julia Lu. No one knows how the feuds between the wealthy families went on, but in short, Julia Lu finally married the chairman of a pharmaceutical company in the South, while Daniel Gu was arranged to go on a blind date, under the pressure of his mother. The blind date partner is me. At that time, I had just graduated from college and joined the Gu group as an administrative assistant to Gu's mother. Mother Gu likes me very much. She started from scratch and said that she saw the younger version of herself in me. The blind date was successful and Daniel Gu agreed to marry me. When my brother found out, he was genuinely happy for me. Our Clara finally married for love. At that time, my heart was also filled with sweetness. It's not that I didn't notice Daniel Gu's coldness, but I thought that was the aura he had after years of fighting in the business world, until one day we had an argument, and I asked Daniel Gu why he still called Julia Lu, who was in a foreign country, every day. He got angry and finally told me the truth with a sneer, "Because I have never forgotten her." Are you satisfied with this answer? I was stunned and my whole body was shaking uncontrollably. You don't have to act like you've been struck by lightning. My mom isn't here right now, so you don't have to act like that for her to see, Daniel Gu said coldly. You've already relied on her to successfully rise to the top and become Mrs. Gu. What else are you not satisfied with? At that moment, I realized that what I thought was a reunion and marrying my first love was so ridiculous and unbearable in Daniel Gu's eyes. Unfortunately, it's too late. The elder brother didn't know that this marriage was already in tatters, so he chose to take the blame for Daniel Gu without hesitation. Don't feel sad for me. My greatest wish is to see you happy. In the clinic, I finally burst into tears when I mentioned my brother. My brother's case still needs Gu's to hire a team of lawyers for him. I cried. At this time, I dare not offend Daniel Gu, nor his mother. Ella was so anxious that her face turned pale. But if you wait any longer, your body will completely collapse. She also cried. Clara, if you keep going like this, you might die. I stroked the scar on my wrist and whispered, sometimes I feel that maybe death is the best option. Don't say that. Ella hugged me. Clara, think about your grandma. She's still in the hospital, and your brother is still looking forward to coming out and reuniting with you. You must not die. My body suddenly stopped in her arms. What if I just die now? Ella let go of me. What do you mean? If I die and take grandma away from Jiangqing, my brother might change his testimony if he knows I'm dead. I held Ella's hand tightly. Shan, only you can help me with this matter. When I got home, I opened my diary in my bedroom and began to write slowly. I write about my love for Daniel Gu over the years, and the despair of being heartbroken. After I finished writing, I put the diary in the drawer. Also put into the drawer were my depression diagnosis certificate, and my cell phone. In my mobile phone, there is a text message from Julia Lu. Not only that one thing. In fact, after the news of my marriage with Daniel Gu was spread, she has been sending me obscene insults using various mobile phone numbers. She called me a bitch and said that I was not worthy of Daniel Gu. The way I looked at her with such a sly face and craved for love was disgusting. A rat in the gutter like me should live in the shadows all my life. Yet I still had the delusion of dreaming of entering her house. Why didn't I just die with my beggar grandmother and useless brother? Very good. Now that I am really going to die, I leave these messages here, and Daniel Gu will see them one day. This is my parting gift for him. I put my diary, depression diagnosis, and cell phone away, locked the drawer, and put the key in my pocket. Just after doing all this, Daniel Gu came back. I lay in bed tiredly, too tired to greet him. From Ella's place, and I'm exhausted just trying to finish writing my diary. The nanny came over and touched my forehead. Oh, madam has to go to the hospital. Daniel Gu took off his leather shoes and changed into velvet home clothes. He looked indifferent and turned a deaf ear to everything. The nanny had no choice but to step forward and say, Sir, how about I ask Lao Wang to get a car and take my wife to the hospital? No need, Daniel Gu said calmly. She just wants me to go see her. The nanny pursed her lips but didn't dare to say anything. She had to go to the kitchen to help me cook porridge. Daniel Gu didn't look at me the whole time. About half an hour later, He finished his work with his notebook and came up to me. His expression was surprisingly cold. What did you do to Julia Lu? I was stunned. What? Daniel Gu's face was filled with anger. Don't pretend. Julia Lu told me that you sent her a text message saying that she was a divorced woman and was not worthy of me. I was silent. And then I laughed. It's so funny that Julia Lu would make such a confusing statement in front of Daniel Gu. Maybe it's because the favored ones have nothing to fear. She was sure that no matter what, Daniel Gu would believe her instead of me. But I don't understand. She is obviously the apple of Daniel Gu's eye. And I am just a marriage tool hated by Daniel Gu. Why does Julia Lu bother to throw dirty water on me and engage in this unnecessary jealousy with me? Daniel Gu didn't know what I was thinking. When he saw me smiling, his face became even more angry. Sure enough, I knew that people like you would do anything to get promoted. All those gentle and dignified things you showed before were just a disguise. He paused and said in a deep voice, the thing I regret most is that I felt sorry for you and helped you out of kindness. My heart ached. I sighed and consoled myself. It's okay. Daniel Gu frowned. What do you mean it doesn't matter? I smiled and said, I mean, it doesn't matter how much you hate me. I'm leaving soon anyway. Leave. Daniel Gu's eyebrows suddenly jumped. Clara Lin. Where do you want to go? I'm telling you, we are engaged. No matter where you go, you are still a member of the Gu family. How funny. Daniel Gu always makes me laugh so hard. It was painful for him to marry me. He was unwilling to let me go. Could there be anyone more twisted than him? Your brother has already hired a lawyer, so you can just focus on preparing for the wedding these days. Preparing for the wedding? I asked softly. Oh, yes. I haven't picked out the wedding ring, wedding dress, and invitations yet. Will you accompany me? Daniel Gu avoided my gaze. I have to go to France for an important meeting. Yes. I knew long ago that he would not accompany me to prepare for the wedding. I also knew a long time ago that he was going to France, because the latest update on Julia Lu's Weibo account that I follow is, I'm going to France next week. My dream since I was a child is to take a photo with my loved one, under the Eiffel Tower. Now I can finally make it happen. There were a lot of blessings below. Everyone knows that Julia Lu just divorced her last husband at the end of last year. Fans below said, has my sister ushered in a second spring? Congratulations. Please give me a photo of my brother. In law. He must be a handsome guy. Julia Lu sent a cute expression. I will show you guys when we are officially together. They should be together soon. I helped Daniel Gu pack his suitcase for the last time, as a wife would help her husband. When he was leaving, he seemed to want to say something to me, but in the end he said nothing. I watched him walk out the door and towards another woman. Then I tidied my room, put on my favorite dress, and went out. Ella was waiting for me in the car. In the back seat sat my grandma. She had Alzheimer's and now acted like an old child, eating the lollipop Ella gave her and dancing with excitement when she saw me. Ella asked me, are you ready to start a new life? I held my grandmother's hand, took a deep breath, and whispered, I'm ready. Ella nodded. She stepped on the accelerator. The car sped away, and soon disappeared into the endless night. Daniel Gu traveled in France with Julia Lu for a week. On the first day after arriving in France, Daniel Gu received a call from Clara Lin as soon as he got off the plane. She asked abruptly, Daniel Gu, have you ever loved me? Daniel Gu had just picked up his luggage and was waiting for the bus. He said to Clara Lin impatiently, I'm very busy. Do you have anything to do? If not, I'm hanging up now. Clara Lin seemed not to hear his words. She said word by word, Daniel Gu, I really loved you. Then the call was disconnected, and a moment later, a text message came. The content only has 2 words, goodbye. Daniel Gu frowned. He wanted to call Clara Lin and ask her what was going on, but not far away. Julia Lu had already run over happily. She took his arm and said that she would take him to eat her favorite French food. Daniel Gu didn't want to spoil his fun, so he put his phone in his pocket. The following week was packed with activities, and Daniel Gu forgot about the message from Clara Lin, until new people kept calling Daniel Gu. Hello, is this Mr. Gu? I'm the assistant of the wedding dress designer. Mrs. Gu had an appointment to try on the wedding dress today, but she didn't come and my phone couldn't be reached. Hello, Mr. Gu. We are the studio responsible for your wedding scene decoration. There are many details we want to confirm, but we can't contact your wife. Do you have time? Hello, Mr. Gu. Daniel Gu dealt with all the calls one by one and put down his phone. He felt a little angry. Clara Lin handles such simple things. I asked her to prepare for the wedding properly, but why did she create so much mess? He took out his phone and sent a WeChat message to Clara Lin. What are you busy with all day? The guests at the wedding are all celebrities. You are embarrassing our Gu family by making such a mess. Clara Lin didn't reply for a long time. This was very unusual. As in the past, she always responded to Daniel Gu's messages within seconds. Daniel Gu called, but his phone was turned off. An unprecedented anger enveloped Daniel Gu. I picked up my phone and sent a voice message. Do you think pretending to be sick is useless, so you're just quitting? Do you think that by pretending to be sick you can get me to come back and deal with these chores with you? I'm telling you, this marriage doesn't have to happen. Clara Lin still didn't reply. Julia Lu heard this and chuckled. Oh, you're so anxious. It must be exactly what she wants. She's not answering her calls or messages just to force you to go back. Ignore her and continue eating and having fun. She's the one who's anxious. Julia Lu's words worked. Daniel Gu did not look for Clara Lin again and continued his journey in France. But for some reason, Daniel Gu is always a little absent-minded. Julia Lu wanted to live with him, but he booked 2 rooms on the grounds that he had trouble sleeping. Lying alone in bed, Daniel Gu would think of Clara Lin when he closed his eyes. He thought of Clara Lin sitting in the library studying all night. Her thin yet strong back looked so pitiful. He just bought her a bottle of juice, but she smiled happily as if she had received a gift from God. Julia Lu would never show such an expression. She is a pampered young lady and thinks that it is her duty for the whole world to be nice to her. Clara Lin is like a little animal that is used to eating bitter food. If you give her a little bit of sweetness, she will recognize you and follow you forever. Daniel Gu suddenly felt a little sad. He couldn't sleep, and after tossing and turning, he sat up and let the thick night envelope him. Maybe I should give her a call and ask. Come to think of it, pretending to be sick to deceive yourself is not a big mistake. You probably just want my attention. Daniel Gu hesitated for a while and called Clara Lin again. He even thought that he could give in and admit that it was indeed inappropriate for him to leave her alone to deal with everything before the wedding. After all, they were husband and wife, and he should give Clara Lin this little face. But when he called, he was still reminded by a cold electronic voice. The user you dialed has been turned off. It's a ghost. Clara Lin want to do. Is she mad? Julia Lu and I came to France. But so what? A woman like her who would do anything for money. Shouldn't she have accepted this a long time ago? Daniel Gu hesitated for a long time, and after making many calls but the phone was still turned off, he finally selected Ella from the list. She was Clara Lin's deskmate in high school, and they seemed to be in touch often now. Daniel Gu dialed out. The call was connected. Hello, Ella, it's me, Daniel Gu. Daniel Gu said in a cold but polite voice. You should know that Clara Lin and I are engaged. She can't be contacted now. I want to ask if you. There were suppressed sobs coming from the other end of the phone. After a long while, Ella finally spoke, sobbing. Clara is dead. Julia Lu came to Daniel Gu's room to find him. She found that he was not in a good state. What's wrong? She asked Daniel Gu. Daniel Gu sat in the shadows, his expression gloomy. Nothing. Any cigarettes? Daniel Gu has quit smoking for many years, and he restrains himself even when he is under great pressure at work. But at this moment, his hands were shaking. Julia Lu handed the cigarette box to Daniel Gu. Daniel Gu tried to light it but failed several times. Finally, he held the cigarette in his hand and asked in a low voice, Ajahn, do you still remember that there was a girl named Ella in high school? Clara Lin had a good relationship with her. Julia Lu didn't like to hear Clara Lin's name. She curled her lips and said sarcastically, I have some impression of her. She is a girl who likes to lie. She broke my Chanel bag and refused to admit it. This is of course a smear campaign. Julia Lu wants to hint to Daniel Gu that birds of a feather flock together. If Clara Lin's friends are so bad, then she herself is not a good person either. Unexpectedly, when Daniel Gu heard Julia Lu's words, his shoulders and neck actually relaxed a little. A girl who loves to lie, he murmured and repeated, and breathed a sigh of relief. I said, she must have lied to me. Then, Daniel Gu frowned. With the wedding coming up soon, what are Clara Lin and her bestie trying to do by doing this? Julia Lu walked over and gently massaged Daniel Gu's neck and shoulders, then sat on his lap. Daniel, don't mention Clara Lin. She just wants to squeeze a little more money. Daniel Gu suddenly stood up, and Julia Lu sat in the air and nearly fell to the ground. I'd better go back and take a look. He put on his coat and went out. took out his cell phone and called his assistant, asking him to book a flight for him back home the next day. Julia Lu called from behind him, "Daniel, we haven't seen the Eiffel Tower yet." The door closed and Daniel Gu did not answer. "Drive faster," the driver said helplessly. "Mr. Gu, we are almost speeding." Daniel Gu rubbed his furrowed brows. He didn't know what he was anxious about. Soon, he arrived home. There was a figure standing at the door, and Daniel Gu narrowed his eyes. Was it Clara Lin waiting for him? After he heaved a sigh of relief, the anger in his heart immediately rose. As expected, she was alive and well, but she used this method to force him to go home. But as the car got closer, Daniel Gu discovered that the figure was not Clara Lin, but another girl, Clara Lin's best friend, Ella. Ella's face was tired and swollen from crying, and her expression was dull. She raised her eyes and looked at Daniel Gu, who was walking towards her. Her eyes were cold and full of hatred. Daniel Gu originally wanted to scold Ella. She actually dared to joke with him about Clara Lin's life and death, but the strong hatred in Ella's eyes frightened him. Daniel Gu opened his mouth, but none of the rebukes he had prepared came out. In the end, he only said, "Why is it you? Where is Clara Lin?" Ella said coldly, "Do you want to see Clara Lin?" Daniel Gu almost laughed out of anger. "What else? Isn't it natural for me to see my fiancée?" Ella turned away coldly. "Okay, I'll take you to see her. This is a wild sea where few tourists ever set foot, because of the numerous reefs and dangerous currents." Ella led Daniel Gu to the highest reef on the beach. The sea breeze blew her hair. She said with red eyes, "Jump down and you will see Clara Lin." Ella can be so genuine and emotional is not because of her acting skills, but because I actually did it. That was the night when Julia Lu sent me a provocative text message. For the first time, Daniel Gu was not at home. I looked at the disgusting words on my phone, and when I regained consciousness, I was already at the beach. At that time, I broke down and called Ella. I told her that I couldn't control myself and begged her to save me. That day, Ella drove more than 10 kilometers to the beach in a hurry, hugged me and cried loudly. She begged me to live, even for her own sake. "You are my only friend. If you die, I will be very lonely." Ella was bullied during her middle school years. She accidentally offended a small group led by Julia Lu. So Julia Lu falsely accused her of stealing and said that she broke her bag, until everyone in the school isolated Ella. Even the teacher thought she was a hopeless bad student. I am the only one who wants to play with Ella. At this moment, Ella was standing on the beach again. She looked at Daniel Gu, and all her hatred was real. She thought Daniel Gu would feel remorseful, but after being silent for a long time, Daniel Gu actually laughed. "Jump into the sea," he asked with a smile. "You two are best friends." "Ella, let me tell you, Clara Lin will never jump into the sea. She is afraid of water. She didn't even dare to take swimming lessons in middle school. Besides, she only wanted to get a share of our Gu family's wealth. Now that she is about to succeed, how could she commit suicide on the eve of success? Tell her to stop making trouble and come home with me." Ella was silent, and finally returned to the car, took out a document bag and handed it to Daniel Gu. "This is for you. This is the last gift Clara Lin left for you." Daniel Gu, "She's not coming back." I was sitting in the homestay, not far away from me. My grandma was taking a nap in a recliner. Her gray hair was blown by the wind, forming small curls. I tucked her in, just as she had done to me all those years ago. We were very poor at that time, and my grandmother's meager pension was not enough to support 2 growing children, so she had to go out to collect waste. But we were happy. My brother would make toys for me using discarded mineral water bottles. I would sing to him the songs I learned from TV. My grandmother would knit beside us, with a smile in every wrinkle on her face. But now, my body can no longer bear the pain, and my grandmother has become mentally ill. In a way, this is a good thing. Otherwise, if she knew that her most filial grandson is now in prison, she would probably be doubly heartbroken. After I tucked my grandma in, I walked aside and looked at the laptop screen. Before leaving, I left a very hidden camera at Gu's house, so on the screen, I clearly saw Daniel Gu holding the folder and returning home. He walked into the bedroom, opened the briefcase, and poured out the things I had left behind. A velvet box. There is also a key. I saw Daniel Gu's figure paused, and the first thing he recognized was of course the velvet box. Inside it was the ring he used when he proposed to me. Daniel Gu's hands began to tremble. He never thought that one day I would return such a thing to him. After all, I was so happy when I received it, and smiled like the happiest person in the world. With trembling hands, he reached for the key. It took him a moment to recognize it as the key to our nightstand. I saw Daniel Gu walk to the cabinet and stare at it for a long time, as if it was a Pandora's box that he didn't dare to open. Finally, Daniel Gu opened the cabinet. He saw what I left behind: cell phone, depression diagnosis certificate, diary. A password is required to unlock the phone. Daniel Gu tried Clara Lin's birthday, but it was wrong. He thought about it, tentatively entered his birthday, and the phone turned on. Many new text messages popped up quickly, all sent by Julia Lu while the phone was turned off. Your fiancé just came out with me. What's wrong with that? He married you just to deal with his mother. Even if you get married in the future, your husband will always have another woman in his heart. Are you a slut? You still want to use this kind of trick to trick him back? Sorry, your tricks are not enough for me. He hasn't touched you, has he? How pitiful. If you want to see his explicit photos, I can send them to you. Hee. If you scroll up, there are many more. Daniel Gu's fingers were shaking. He didn't expect that Julia Lu had been sending such text messages to Clara Lin for years. Clara Lin knew everything he did. Then why is Clara Lin still able to persist? Daniel Gu closed the text message page. He wanted to take a breath, but suddenly noticed Clara Lin's screensaver. The screensaver was a very blurry photo of a boy in a white shirt standing by the window doing his duty. The wind was blowing in from the window, and his hair was blown into a beautiful arc. Daniel Gu trembled. He recognized that this boy was his 17-year-old self. This is why Clara Lin could endure his indifference and torture day after day, because when she was most painful, she would look at the 17-year-old him on the screen. Daniel Gu took a long time to open the diagnosis of depression. Clara Lin's illness stems from a bad intimate relationship. In the long psychological counseling record, the counselor's advice will appear every few pages. Why don't you leave your boyfriend? The ink was thick, writing Clara Lin's answer. Daniel Gu could almost imagine what she looked like. She was silent for a long time before she said softly with a wry smile, "Because I love him." Daniel Gu, I loved you. These were the last words Clara Lin said to herself. This was also the first sentence she wrote in her diary. Daniel Gu, I loved you when you were 17 years old and you quietly helped me pay my grandmother's hospital bills and then hurried away. I looked at your back and felt that a ray of light finally appeared in the long and dark tunnel. So, even if that light became the darkness that enveloped me many years later, I have never regretted it. I really want to be your wife, but unfortunately, my physical condition does not allow it. The physical and mental pains are tormenting me. Please forgive me for not being able to hold on any longer. If possible, I hope you will treat my family well out of our limited affection. When I can no longer take care of you, I hope you will take good care of yourself. The diary fell from Daniel Gu's hands. He stood in the middle of the living room, speechless. Impossible. After a long while, I heard him mutter in a low voice, "It's just depression. Aren't you very strong? How could you be so depressed that?" There was a knock on the door, and the nanny pushed it open cautiously. Mr. Gu, a young lady is waiting outside the door, saying she is Madame's friend. The person who came in was Ella. She handed what she had in her hand to Daniel Gu. Don't you want me to produce evidence? Here you go. This is Clara's death certificate. She jumped into the sea and committed suicide on the first day you went to France. She called you before she died. If you could have come back earlier, you might have had a chance to see her one last time. But you stayed in France for too long, so it's too late. In accordance with Clara's wishes, her ashes were scattered at sea. Ella narrated in a low voice that this was the statement we had agreed on long ago, and the death certificate was also forged very realistically, and could withstand Daniel Gu's careful scrutiny. But Daniel Gu didn't even look closely. The thin piece of paper seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds. As soon as Ella put it in his hand, it fell from his palm to the ground. She was sick. Why didn't you tell me? Daniel Gu murmured in a low voice. Ella sneered. She told me, but you didn't believe it. Daniel Gu's body trembled again, and he could hardly stand. Besides, even if I find a way to make you believe it, will you care? You only have your first love Julia Lu in your heart, right? I really don't understand. If you can't let go, why do you want to mess with Clara? Ella finished speaking in one breath. Daniel Gu lowered his head, the sunlight shining on his pale face, and his expression was so fragile that it was vulnerable. Ella took a deep breath, finally calmed down, and said, Clara said that she has packed up all her things so that you can marry the one you love cleanly. We all thought that after I left. Daniel Gu would definitely marry Julia Lu. Then I might as well be a good person in the end. But Daniel Gu's reaction was beyond my expectations. He raised his head and his voice was calm, as if he was deliberately suppressing some emotion. What are you talking about? Isn't the person I want to marry Clara Lin? He looked at Ella and said calmly, where is Clara? I'll go pick her up and take her home. Ella was stunned. She didn't understand why Daniel Gu reacted like this. Daniel Gu sleepwalked past Ella and walked towards the door. I'm going to pick up Clara and take her home. The next second, he fell down. Boss Gu. Julia Lu came to see Daniel Gu. Daniel Gu had just woken up from a coma. Julia Lu rushed into the ward. She didn't know what had happened yet. She complained angrily. The doctor outside said that you fainted because of strong emotional stimulation. What kind of excessive thing did Clara Lin do? Seeing Daniel Gu remained silent, she became even angrier. She received money to be the daughter-in-law of the Gu family, but she doesn't even have this little bit of professionalism. Shut up, Daniel Gu said suddenly. Julia Lu was stunned. Clara Lin didn't marry me for money. Daniel Gu's hand under the quilt stroked Clara Lin's phone for a long time. On the screensaver, the 17-year-old boy kept a beautiful look forever. She married me because she loved me. Julia Lu was stunned for a moment. Then her voice became shrill. Love you? A woman who is desperate for money is trying her best to marry into a wealthy family because of love. Daniel, don't be so stupid. Daniel Gu suddenly laughed. As he laughed, tears began to fall. Julia Lu, you and I are both too smart, but Clara Lin is the stupid one. How can there be such a stupid person? At the age of 17, he tasted a little sweetness and fell in love with it and lost his life. Daniel Gu really hates himself. Julia Lu when he went on a blind date with Clara Lin, his mother broke them up and forcefully arranged a new blind date for him. It was during his most rebellious period that he met Clara Lin. Across the table, in her cheap shirt and skirt, she gave herself an ingratiating smile. So he had a preconceived notion that she was just one of the thousands of women who wanted to marry into a wealthy family, and he wouldn't listen to anything she explained afterwards. Julia Lu was about to open her mouth to refute, but suddenly caught the key words in Daniel Gu's words. What life? Daniel Gu did not answer. Julia Lu was stunned for a long time before she said in disbelief. Clara Lin yes, she died. Daniel Gu turned calmly to look at Julia Lu. Depression. Julia Lu covered her mouth sharply. To be honest, Julia Lu is not a very smart person, but she still knew a simple truth. The living could not defeat the dead. Clara Lin was so perfect. She loved Daniel Gu with all her heart for so many years, giving him everything without any regrets. Then she died on the eve of the wedding without getting a single penny in return. After a long panic, Julia Lu stammered, how did Clara Lin die? Oh, she was too weak. Depression can be treated. Daniel Gu threw Clara Lin's phone in front of Julia Lu. Every text message is shocking. Clara Lin just shut up. Depression may be treatable, but her text messages that irritate patients with depression. At that moment, Julia Lu was overwhelmed by despair. She had once been confident that Clara Lin could never compare to herself, but now she felt so powerless that she seemed unable to defeat her. She tried to make a final struggle. Daniel, I do all this because I love you so much. She started crying. You can't leave me. I divorced for you. Everyone knows that I like you. If you don't want me, who else can I marry? Julia Lu responded with a cold look that she had never seen on Daniel Gu before. Daniel Gu stood up and opened the door of the ward. Get out, he said calmly and firmly. I don't want to see you again. Her heart sank, and Julia Lu cried out in tears. Daniel, don't you understand? Daniel Gu finally exploded. I told you to get out. The security guard came in and tried to take Julia Lu away. Julia Lu struggled and screamed. At this moment, she became reckless. Why do you treat me like this? You think I killed Clara Lin, right? No, Daniel Gu. It was you who killed Clara Lin. It was you. Julia Lu laughed wildly because she saw clearly that Daniel Gu's face turned pale in an instant. Julia Lu was carried out by the security guards, leaving only Daniel Gu in the ward. He seemed to have exhausted all his strength and collapsed on the bed. The wind blew in from the window, and the glass reflected his haggard face, which was now covered with stubble. On the screensaver, the boy's hair is blown by the wind, and the picture is bright and moving. The 17-year-old boy is finally no longer happy. The 17-year-old girl was completely dead. Daniel Gu covered his face with a quilt. He finally burst into tears. What? You're going to jail yourself? In the living room filled with gorgeous mahogany furniture, Gu's mother stood up in shock. Daniel Gu didn't say anything, just nodded. Why? Lin Chao has already taken all the blame. Why are you? He was willing to take the blame on the condition that I make his sister happy. But Mom, I didn't do that. Daniel Gu rubbed his face. In just a few days, he became extremely haggard. No, I don't agree. You were doing something stupid. Daniel Gu did not try to convince his mother again. He walked out and texted Ella. You go and talk to Lin Chao. And ask him to change his statement. I owe his sister a lot. And I don't want to owe him any more. The investigation may take some time. Daniel Gu decided to go to the beach. He did not choose a plane or a high-speed train, but a green train. When they went on their graduation trip, the classmates in their class took a train to the beach. The person sitting next to Daniel Gu at that time was Clara Lin. She was so happy that Daniel Gu asked her why she was so happy. She lowered her head and her ears turned pink. Because I like the sea. The green train passed through the sea of cherry blossoms at that moment. The girl's shy look with her head down looked as beautiful as spring against the pink sky outside the window. Daniel Gu's heart moved slightly. At this moment, cherry blossoms are still in full bloom outside the window. But there was no one around Daniel Gu. Leaning against the car window, Daniel Gu closed his eyes and made a wish. If God could let him meet Clara Lin again, he is willing to pay any price. In the evening, I fed my grandma a bowl of egg drop porridge, and watched her fall asleep quietly. The owner of the BB is an enthusiastic and kind woman. She promised to help me take care of my grandmother for a while after I left. Someone will come to pick her up after a while. I said, it could be a man named Lin Chao, or a woman named Ella. No matter which one it is, Grandma can go with them. Before that, please take care of her. I will reserve enough room and living expenses. No problem. The owner of the BB asked me while busying himself. But where are you going? Miss Lin. Me. I smiled. I want to go to an island far, far away. Aren't we at the beach? Miss Lin is planning to go abroad for fun. The owner of the BB said enviously. How long will it take? I was still laughing. A long, long time. So long. Your grandma and your brother's friends must miss you to death. Well, they probably will miss me, but it doesn't matter. We will meet each other eventually. After chatting with the BB owner, I turned around and saw a figure standing outside the window. I wasn't terribly surprised. After closing the door, I walked out, and in the light of sunset, I walked towards the person I had loved for many years, Daniel Gu. I walked up to him and called his name softly. He seemed to have recovered from his long days and reached out to touch my face. Clara, this is actually true. This was the first time I saw Daniel Gu cry. His tears fell, and his voice trembled. You are mad at me, right? The death certificate is fake, right? You wanted to make me regret it, right? You achieved your goal, and I lost. I realized that I loved you, but I didn't know my heart clearly before. I sighed and whispered, Daniel Gu, the sunset at the beach is beautiful. Let's go see it. This is a wild sea with many reefs. We climbed up the tallest one and looked at the ocean waves hitting the rocks below, creating huge white waves. I took off my coat, leaving only a thin sundress underneath. There was a shocking scar on his arm. Daniel Gu only took a quick look and then looked away as if he had been burned. The death certificate was fake, but the hurt he caused me was real. I have to confess something to you, I whispered. My fake death plan is not aimed at you, Daniel Gu. I loved you, but I realized that I loved the 17-year-old you, and that boy no longer exists. That day, the reason I went to the beach and wanted to commit suicide was not only because of Julia Lu's text message, but also because I was diagnosed with stomach cancer. This is the final truth. The ultimate purpose of this fake death plan is not to make Daniel Gu regret it, but it's to prevent those who truly love me from being sad. Ella didn't know about my illness. She thought my repeated fevers and illnesses were just due to a decrease in immunity caused by depression. That's why she cried and begged me not to die at the beach. She said I was her only friend and she couldn't live if I died. When Daniel Gu became my light, it turned out that I had also been the light of others. Ella, who was bullied, I was the one who lit up her life. I know how painful it feels to have your light go out, and I hope my best friend never has to experience that pain. I told Ella that I would go to a distant island to recuperate, because I wanted to avoid you. I probably wouldn't come back to Jiangqing for a long, long time. After my brother is released from the detention center, Ella will tell him the truth. Daniel Gu, this is the last thing I want you to do for me. And that is to keep this secret for me, I said softly. Daniel Gu's eyes were becoming more and more panicked. No, I don't agree. I shook my head and smiled. You will agree. The setting sun sank into the sea at this moment. I looked at Daniel Gu, smiled, and fell backwards on my back. Clara, this is the ending I planned for myself. I like the sea. The sea is 1,000 feet deep, burying all the love and hate in the world. Daniel Gu stared blankly below. The sun had completely set and the sea was dark. The sound of a police car rang out behind him, and his phone received dozens of missed calls from his assistant and mother. Lin Chao should have changed his confession. The police came to arrest him. Those charges were originally his, including bribery, huge tax evasion, and many economic crimes. Clara Lin likes clean and warm boys, and he is no longer. In the future, he will go from being the high and mighty Mr. Gu to being an ordinary prisoner behind bars. If only time could stop at 17. If you can't, then stay here. Your brother was responsible for that matter in the first place. It's better for only one person to suffer than to implicate everyone. He did the right thing and saved the overall situation of the Gu group. The police officer didn't get to finish his sentence, because Daniel Gu jumped into the dark tide. 1 year later, Ella was watching TV with her grandmother, while Lin Chao was mashing fruit puree for her grandmother. Grandma's teeth are not good, so she can eat some peaches if they are mashed into paste. Peach. Grandma suddenly turned around and looked at the peach in Lin Chao's hand. Leave it for Clara. Lin Chao was stunned. When I was a child, my family was poor and we couldn't even afford peaches. My grandmother would always go to the fruit stalls to pick up the leftovers, cut off the rotten parts and the parts with wormholes, and the remaining flesh was sweet. Clara always said that she didn't like eating peaches, so her grandmother and Lin Chao shared the peaches. When she grew up, Lin Chao discovered that peaches were Clara's favorite fruit. Clara is always like this. She always thinks about the people she loves and rarely thinks about herself. But fortunately she should be living well now. Clara is playing on the island. There are big mangoes and golden pineapples. Ella took out her cell phone and showed her grandmother the photos. In the photo, I was wearing a holiday dress, standing next to a fruit stall with a smile on my face, and making a V sign to the camera. Somewhere in the world, there is a small mailbox that contains nearly 100 emails, including photos that I have photoshopped in advance. They will be sent regularly to report my progress. Grandma looked at me in the photo and clapped her hands with satisfaction, and a smile. Good, good. Clara has suffered a lot. You should eat more sweet things. My brother and Ella both laughed. The sun is shining outside, the warmth is cozy inside, and the people I love all have smiles on their faces. This is all I want to see most. If you've ever had to silence your own voice to keep the peace, or dim your light so others could feel bright, let me know in the comments that you're done playing small. Your truth has a right to take up space, and their karma is long overdue. Subscribe to Red Karma for more stories of unapologetic power. It's your turn to write the ending.